What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Line of the Stars. I'm Jordan, and we're back today with another episode of the DeAgostini Millennium Falcon from Fanhome. Oh, I almost got that one right. But we're back today with another episode, and a kind of, I always say they're big episodes, but this one really is kind of like an end to what is the bottom portion, like the pre-assembly, getting all of the parts together, getting everything ready to go, because in the next episode, next week, we are going to be actually assembling the entirety of the lower hull, and it's going to be a lot of work. I've looked ahead, and in order to get there, it's going to take a lot of work, and it's not going to be like, here, we're going to put this hole here, and we're going to screw it in. It's more like, I'm just going to be filming, and I'm just going to be working through, and I'll talk about it as I'm going along. But I've looked ahead, and it's just going to be a lot of work, a lot of screws, probably about 300 to 400 screws I'm going to have to screw in. There's no way I'm going to talk about any of that. And so for the next couple episodes, obviously things are going to be a little bit different in this build series. We're going to be doing some assembly. And then from there, I need, like, it's the end of summer. And some things are coming to mind right now. The weather here doesn't really work in the fall for painting outside. And so while it's still a little warm out, I need to get all three of my Falcons primed and get their base coat on, so then I could bring them in here and actually work with my airbrush on some of the other things, because I'm going to be using rattle cans for all of the main assembly of this model. So the thing that I really need to think about is getting this done and getting it done now. And I'm recording this a lot earlier because I need to do a lot of work for this model. My plan is to be working pretty hard on this model for the next couple weeks just to get all of the things done, because, as like I said, all of my Falcons, but this one most importantly, it needs to get its paint on. And the only way for me to do that, because I can't rattle can paint inside, I need to be able to do it outside so it can be warm and get its smells out and all of that stuff. It just wouldn't work to have the house full of that smell. So with that being said, today we're going to be tackling stages 43, 44, and 45, and it's going to be kind of like a little bit of a hodgepodge of parts. 43 is going to involve us building the plates that sit over these portions right here, and what they are basically is covers for the landing gear if you choose to display it in flight or landed. I haven't really decided what my decision is going to be on that one. I do have the TV wall mount option as part of the premium package for this, but part of me is like, it would look really good inside of a coffee table too. So I don't know. It's something to really think about as part of like a bigger diorama as well. So anyway, before I start going on too long, let's go ahead and get into building. And we're going to start with stage 43, and that's going to be doing creating those plates. And then 44 and 45, and maybe even, nope, it's just 44 and 45, have us doing a lot of work, creating a lot of like little, there's lots of greeblies that we need to put together, which is going to be really cool. So let's get to building, shall we? All right, so stage 43 has us collecting a bunch of parts from previous stages. It's going to be what? BP27, which is going to be from here. This came with issue number 35. And then BP28, which came from issue 36. And then it was in what we did in the previous episode where we planted on some details here. And then we're going to be using this plate from this stage, obviously, which is going to be BP29. And then these two plates right here, which we talked about in one of the previous episodes, that have the little holes in the bottom there for the magnets, which is going to be right here. So we're also going to need to get a, almost forgot to bring out my eraser. So as we're going to be doing a little bit of work with parts that I don't know, like in the future, like for these stages up ahead, we're going to need some glue, but I'm also going to need a eraser file and a single bladed nippers. And what we're going to do in this stage is we're going to start working on getting these plates assembled so that we can get the magnetized plate sitting over the top, so you can choose to either display it landed or in flight. So this is going to be the in-flight option. So let's go ahead and get to building, shall we? Now, I haven't actually opened stage 43, which is kind of rare. Having these stages opened is kind of par for the course these days already, because it kind of like moving back and forth as I'm trying to make sense of how I'm building. So here are some more of the magnets and pins that we're going to be using for this stage. And then here's our whole panel, BP29. There we are. We're going to set that off to the side. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and grab this, which is going to be one of the plates that sits over the top. We'll match those up with that one over there. And then a big pile of screws, because they've been loading us up, because we're going to need to be just building and building and building for the next little while. So we're going to set these off to the side. All right. So first things first, we need to match our plates to the correct piece so we know where everything's supposed to go. So let's go ahead and position our plates the way they are supposed to go. It's going to be like that. And like that. And like that. There we go. And we have our 3 plates. And looking at the diagram, this one is going to go right here. Very nice. We're also checking to see if it needs to be sanded at all. It doesn't look like it. This one goes here. Maybe. Or does it go here? It goes there. Yes, and this one goes here. So there they are. Everything looks good. The fitment looks surprisingly good, actually. I got to be really honest. Obviously, it's there, but if you didn't know it's there, yeah, it's not bad, actually. Go ahead and bring this one up. Look really good. I'm going to be really honest. This model keeps surprising me, you guys. It really is. It does a great job of, like, getting that, like, just detail. You can really see that. It looks good. All right. So let's get our plates out. Going to go ahead and put them in order which they're supposed to go. Move those forward. All right. So first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to be fitting. So inside this package are 4 pins and then what looks like 4 rare earth magnets. So that's going to be enough for 2 of the plates. And then the one that we just got, this one has 2 pins and 2 magnets. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking these pins, fitting them into each one of these holes. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to put a little glue on top of the pin, and then we're going to affix the rare earth magnet into here. Was that right? Oh, no, I read my instructions wrong. I'm glad I reviewed that. So sorry about that. So we're going to make sure the pin fits down, and then we're going to be basically just taking a little bit of glue and putting it in there just to make sure that the pin stays down. And then we're going to put a spot of glue in each one of these recesses and put a magnet down. That way you can pop this in and out. So let's go ahead and start by small pieces and my big chunky fingers. Yikes. Okay. So I'm going to keep these in a metal plate because I don't want the parts to get lost, so to say. So, and unlike the Enterprise, you don't get any extras in this model. So we do have to be careful. I'm going to grab some tweezers. There we go. All right. Now, I'm going to grab one of our pins and test fit it in place real fast. Just make sure it's going to fit into its slot. More the tweezer's fault. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're going to assume that's going to be fine. So I'm just going to take a little bit of glue here. Drop that into the hole. Oh my god. This might actually be difficult with these big sausage fingers. You got sausage fingers, I sympathize. Wow. think I'm going to need to get... what can I use? Well, maybe a pair of needle nose. That will work. Something with a little bit more of a grip. Yeah, that's working. There we go. Bingo. Okay. So now I know how I'm going to approach that. Let's go ahead and get a little bit of glue into our ends here. I want to make sure that, I mean, these are rare earth magnets, so they're going to grab and hold. So I want to make sure I get enough. Grab my needle nose. Don't lose this. Sure, I could replicate it, but don't want to have to. There we go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get the other 4 pins in, and I will be right back. All right, so all 4 of our pins are in. All 6, actually. I went ahead and took care of the other 4. Now, without a little drama, this one was a little difficult to get done. So while those sit and cure, let's try to get this done. So I'm going to grab a little bit of my CA here, and I'm just going to go ahead and drop it into each one of these wells right here. Make sure I'm getting enough, because you're going to want to make sure that this is secured in, because otherwise the magnet will come off, and yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab one of our magnets. Do I have 1 or 2? I have 2. That works. I'm going to separate them very carefully. Get them slotted into their spots. Just like so. Very nice. Let's go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. Get the cat hair off. I don't know how there's cat hair. Well, I don't know how there's cat hair. Huh. This is a cat house. So there's cat hair. Grabbed 1. Okay. Excellent. Nice. There we are. Very cool. And then our last one. Making sure we're getting enough CA in there. All right. Grab our last 2 magnets. All right. Excellent. So I'm going to let all this set up and cure. I'm not going to try to put these on right now. That would be reckless. We will come back at the end of the episode and see how all that looks. Let's go ahead and get all these moved off to the side, and let's go ahead and move on to stage 44. All right, so here's stage 44, and as you may recall, we have already kind of tackled the more complicated portion of stage 44 and in building the gun ports. It's kind of crazy to think that sometimes that you don't get a lot to do in some of these earlier stages in these builds, but as you get towards the meat of the model, like the middle of the model, you kind of stop complaining about that with the Falcon, because you're kind of like back and forth and all over the place. I wish they would kind of like batch like activities, but that's just the person who manages people in me. Um, like, so that it's just what it is. But that being said, we're going to go ahead and open this up. This is one of the rear landing gear pieces. We'll eventually be doing what we just did in that other stage. I believe coming up here in next episode at some point, although I may just do it off camera because it's going to be much of the same thing. But here's our lower plate. We're going to set that off to the side. And this is what really matters right here. So we get to actually do some modeling work. Let's go ahead and get our package thrown away. And when I say we get to do some modeling work, we get to actually take parts off of sprues and put them on things. It's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and take a look at our instructions here. And I just want to make sure that I'm understanding how everything goes. Okay, so I just had to go through and look at the instructions real quick to make sure what's going on. These two are plant-on details that we'll be using later on in the next episode. What we're going to be doing is going ahead and focusing in on using these two parts right here. So I'm going to very carefully remove all of them from their sprues, get them in numerical order, get them all cleaned up and ready to go, because we're going to have to do the same thing 2 more times in the next stage. So I kind of want to accelerate through this a little bit. So here is our sprue real fast. And basically, it looks like it's numbered 1 through 5, and you see the issue 44 stamped in, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and quickly get these separated, get them put in numerical order, and then we'll be right back. All right, all of our parts are taken care of, nice and cleaned up, and placed in 1 through 8 order. We're going to be leaving this detail on this sprue and setting it off to the side because we'll be using that later on in the stage. So here is the deck that we're going to be putting everything on, and we're going to be positioning the deck just like this. And as you can see, there are many, many mounting lug points for us to put all of these pieces in, which is really, really cool. So let's go ahead and start with part number 1, which is going to go right down here. And what I'm going to do is, that's part number 1 right there. It's just kind of like a little cylindrical piece. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a little bit of CA and dot it in. Might need to shave off the end of this glue nub here. Let's see how long I can go. We just learned recently that you shouldn't be burning that off at the end of that nub if you're using this method. Creates a pretty nasty gas. Not the one that we create. Right. So I just took my hobby knife and scraped that glue off. All right, let's grab part number 2. And that is going to go into these 2 holes right up top. Go and zoom in just a little bit. Start to lose a little detail as we zoom in too close. And I tend to get myself off camera as well, so don't want to do that. So number 2 is this funky looking piece. And it's got a larger and a smaller lug up there, as you can see. And it's going to go larger and smaller. And they encourage you to do this in order because obviously, like when you're planting these on, like they take into account they could be like putting parts over top of the other parts. So definitely follow along with the instructions. Part number 3 is going to go into these 2 holes right there. And it's this funny looking piece. And this one is going to point in just like that. And you can't get it wrong because the lug holes are keyed. And there you are. That's what that looks like. Very cool. I'm assuming part number 4 is going to go right there. But you want to make sure that is correct. Part number 4 will go right there. So let's get some glue into each one of these spots. And I know this one's a little bit of a flat piece. And it looks just like this. And that one is going to point out that way. Okay. There you go, Eric. Stuck myself. Gotten better over time. Some of my earlier videos, Eric, if you haven't watched some of my earlier videos, like, I would really glue myself and I'd get really super annoyed. All right, so there's that. Very nice. All right, so now we're going to grab part number 5, which is going to go into those 2 lug holes right there. This is actually a fairly simple process, but you do want to be methodical about it. There we are. And part number 5 and 6 look like very similar pieces. Just like that. One has a larger lug hole than the other, so you can't get it wrong which way it's supposed to go. Make sure it's sitting straight. There we go. Do the same thing. This is going to be part number 6, and it's going to be doing the same thing. There. These holes are much smaller, so it doesn't take much more glue. Both of these are the same, so you can really just kind of plug it in however you want. There we go. Excellent. Okay. Number 7 is going to be a single post, and it's going to go right there. And the part looks just like, without dropping it, like that. Post put in place. It's like so. The beauty of super glue is it doesn't take long for it to cure. And then finally, we're going to take this piece, and it's going to slot into that lug hole right there. And where is its connection point? Oh, no, maybe not. No, this one sits wrapped around. Is it just like... How does it sit? Oh, I left a bit of the gate on there. I didn't realize that was not part of that. Okay. I was like, wait, what did I do wrong? So this piece... kind of a confusing piece. I see. Kind of a bit of a puzzle connection right there. It fits in just like that. Yep. Okay. Very interesting. That one's a little bit of a difficult piece, and the end to the stage. It's a very interesting piece. Huh. Some glue on there. Press fit that into place. Not glue myself to it. I'm going to hold that there for just a moment, and I'll be right back. There we are. Oh, interesting. Very cool piece. All right, so that is the end of stage 44. Let's go ahead and finish up with stage 45. All right, stage 45. Let's go ahead and open the package. And I think we're going to wind up using most of everything here. Here's our matching side from the plate that we just did on the other side. So here's the other rear landing gear portion of that. This is one of the very big pieces, and I believe the very last lower hull plate that we get. Here it is. There it is. The last hull plate for the lower half of the hull. Very cool. All right. Otherwise, we're going to have some more plant-on details. And what I decided is, let's take a look here real quick. So, 3 plant-on pipe. There we go. 4. These are braces. This piece are all going to go back inside of the bag because we're going to be using these in the next episode. So instead of like trying to decipher what's what, I'm putting everything back inside the bag and putting that off to the side. Definitely recommend having a good organizational system for this model because you're going to be having crap just spread everywhere. Okay. So here's the other side, and it looks very familiar to what we just did. It is a little different. There's a couple parts that are a little different, but then we're introducing the middle portion of that, and this is the piece that sits in between right here, basically, on the rear half of the ship, and it's the little assembly that you see right underneath the thrust vector plates on the under half of the hull. Very cool. So we're going to be planting on details for all of this. So here's the first sprue, obviously very familiar with the one we just saw, but it does have a different issue number on it, so which is a good sign. And then this is the sprue that we're going to be planting all the details on here. So let's go ahead and start with this one. And what I'm going to do is very quickly just get everything separated and cleaned up, and then you guys are going to see me very quickly go through and repeat the same process as I just kind of quickly speed up the camera and go, I'll be right back. All right. Now I was waiting to see what the difference was between this issue and the last issue was, and it's just this piece, and it was the weird one that we set at the very end. This one also sits at a weird spot as well. So there's that. They're all cleaned up and ready to go. And then, as is with the previous issue, we're going to go ahead and leave this sprue off to the side and put it back in that package. But first, before we do that, everything's ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and quickly get these all glued in, and then we'll spend a little bit more time building this one as we finish off the rest of the episode. Enjoy. There it is. Very cool. Went together basically the same thing as the other side, just this part was just a little bit different, but has a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle connection there at the very end. So yeah, very cool. All right, so we're going to go ahead and set that one off to the side, and let's go ahead and focus on this one. I'm going to go ahead and get the parts off the sprues, and then we will be right back. And just a reminder, that's what everything looks like. All right, our parts have been separated. We're going to be leaving these until the next episode when we covering the rest of the getting these put on. So I do actually need to keep my package. Sometimes I think I can throw these things away, but I can't. So, oh, I already have saved it. So I'm a genius. All right. So just want to make sure that that was that. God. All right, so let's go ahead and start with grabbing our piece here. And then part number one is keyed and can only fit in, it's like a D key basically, and it will fit in just like that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put a little bit of glue in and around the sides here. Now, you don't need to go super overboard. Super glue will work if you let it. Let's get, oh, that wouldn't be one of my episodes unless I flung something. And plugged into place. Just like that. Very cool. We're going to do the same thing right next to it with number 2. Oh, wait, hold on. It wants us to put in number 3 first. Very interesting. So number 3. I was like freaking out there for a second. I'm like, what did I do wrong? Yeah. So there we go. We're obviously going to be finishing more detail on this later on. Had a panic moment there. There we are. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and move over to part number 2 here. It is also keyed. Oh my God. Nice. And there we are. 1 and 2 are put on. So 3, how does it fit? There's a tiny little lug hole or lug and a tiny little hole there, and that fits in just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get that plugged into play. And get CA everywhere, apparently. Need a little bit more. Not too much more, though. We're almost done today. There we go. Get that plugged in. And there we are. Do the same thing on the other side. Just going to kind of assume here. You know what happens when we assume. But I'm going to do it anyway. There we are. There we are. Very cool. And then finally today, is that it? Yeah, that's it. Finally, before we test fit our parts there, we're going to be putting part number 5, and it's going to go into this, and it's going to go into this angled spot right here. And if you notice, the mounting point right there only fits one way. So I believe I did it wrong. There we go. So we want it to fit just like that. So grab our last little bit of glue for today. Get it back in behind here. Make sure it's got a spot for everything to attach to. And then I'm actually going to grab a little bit of CA to ensure that it sits flat. I'm going to rub it along the inside right here. Eh. Eh. There we are. All right. Eh. Eh. There we go. And there it is. That is stage 45 complete. I gotta say, that was kind of fun. You know, like building these models, you know, sometimes like with the Enterprise, it's very technical and you're doing a lot of wiring and you have to think about lights and all of that. With this model, specifically the Falcon, this is the fun part work for me to do because it's like actually doing real models. And so, yeah, it's pretty exciting. So let's go ahead and bring back the parts. Basically, how everything's going to fit into place is it's going to kind of, this piece sits like this, I believe. Kind of like that. Maybe a little off to the side, something like that. And so they fit in and go just right here. Straighten that up a little bit. Something like that. So that's what that will look like when it's completely assembled. There's more point-on parts that we need to do, but we can't do that until actually we're done with the assemblies. So that's the end of stage 45. Let's go ahead and bring back, I'm going to go ahead and leave these up here onto the side. Get my debonder off the screen. Let's go ahead and get our desk cleaned up. And quickly, before the sun murders my camera, this time of the year, it can be really tough to deal with the sun first thing in the morning, which is when I do some recording. Sometimes. I usually edit in the mornings, but today we're recording. All right, so let's see how the panels fit. Oh, they snap right into place. Very nicely. Very nicely. And kind of nicely. Do they stay in place? We're good to go. Do they stay in place? Yes, they do. All right, so there it is, my friends. We have seen the last of our hull panels. We have seen the last of kind of the little bits that we need to get to complete the bottom half of the hull as we move on to a very major portion of the model, and that's getting it painted. And I need to do it before this murder sun disappears. And so look for that in the next episode, my friends. We are going to be assembling all of our hull pieces and getting that bottom frame completely covered up. Oh, buddy. And have I got a very cool storage solution for all of you guys? Because getting this model stored while you're not building it is kind of a pain in the ass, if I'm being real. And so I've got a really cool, cheap, and effective and easy way to store this model in both pieces and keep it completely safe. Come back and check it out next week. So that's what I got for you today, and I just want to say thank you. I know that there was a million things y'all could have done today. Instead, you spent a couple minutes with me watching me build a model, and I think that's pretty damn cool. If you guys have any questions or comments, tips, tricks, please leave them down. Please leave them down below. Like to support the channel, please like and subscribe. Oh, and don't forget, answer the trivia question down below. I'll make sure to mention that. I'm getting used to this first episode with, putting the trivia into place. So, otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful day in this beautiful world, wherever you happen to be. And just remember, my friends, that the Force is one with you, and that you are one with the Force.